Okay. We are live. Give it a few seconds. Wait for everyone to get in here. How's it going? How you guys doing? Oh, wow. Glory to God. Glory to God, glory to God, glory to God. I just keep thanking the Lord, man. So thankful. Oh, okay, let's see here. Get in here, you guys. Get in here. Hello. Matt on YouTube. I got a lot of YouTube on here. Anybody else? I got okay, Facebook is on. It's happening. Oh, you guys. I'm going to miss your satire of Joe and Kamala. Yes. It's been fun. It's been fun. I'm sure that the Democrats will give me more material as we move forward. It's endless, as we'll talk about today. A constant material they give me. Let's see here. Get in here, you guys. Welcome. I'm still like kind of like in a haze. Like it just feels surreal. It's when you're fighting for something and you're wanting something for so long and praying and asking for it and God, please, please. And then when it's delivered to you, it's like, I'm just like realizing that it's happened. That's kind of where I'm at right now. And I mean, the day after the election, guys, I literally like walked around. I was like in my pajamas, like half of the day. I was like trying to get stuff done, like just like completely in like a haze and just like, and then crying and thanking God and crying. And I'm just, wow. So the last time I saw you guys, I said, hey, we'll see how this unfolds. I really didn't have my finger on the pulse. I didn't know exactly how it was going to pan out. But I have been praying differently than I did last election. I have been praying that God's will be done. And not to say that I wasn't praying, but I was really praying for like specific victory in 2020. I was like, God, just let Trump win. Just like, oh my gosh. And there's arguments that he did win, but it was a different, and I was so stressed about it. But this time around, like my prayer life changed to God's will be done. And regardless of how this thing turns out, we are in God's timeline. And there was total peace in that, even as we went into it. Of course, you have nerves and you're like, but there was this underlying peace for me. And I'm just so thankful. I'm so grateful. I'm just glory to God. Like for me, I don't think a lot of people fully understand. I mean, you guys do because you're informed and plugged in, but I don't think your average American really understands what was averted with a Trump win. I don't think that most Americans fully understand the mercy that we just received as a nation. I don't think people understand it. I really don't. But if you do get it, there's like this, it's a sobering. It's not I don't feel haughty. I don't feel gloaty. I feel so thankful and grateful at what was averted. I mean, let's be honest, guys. I'm getting emotional again, and I got to keep it together. If Trump had not won, they would have opened the border back up, and we would have had millions and millions and millions of people flood into our country, and it would have transformed this nation for the next 100 years, and it would have greatly impacted my children, their ability to thrive, their ability to be able to succeed in this nation. It was a direct impact. And we have been directly impacted as a family over the last 4 years. Not just on a financial front, but just in every aspect of our lives. I mean, a lot of it financial, yes. I mean, but just it's been, I mean, let's go back to COVID, you guys. Go back to the restrictions and what they were doing, and the threats they were making to people like my family, of having to inject themselves with something they didn't want in their body, and the mandates, and the people I know that lost their businesses, and all the way through COVID, and I mean, and the censorship from big tech on me. It has been such an impact. I mean, they have suppressed me so heavily, so heavily. If you go back on Facebook, when I first started this, I would get millions of views. I'd have thousands of people viewing. And now it's been under this administration, such a clampdown on free speech. And it's been rough. It's been rough. And then on top of that, raising kids under this current administration, under the Biden-Harris administration, and what they're doing to children, and what they're saying to children, and how they're trying to manipulate and confuse children. It has been such a flood over the last 4 years, and it would have just accelerated times 100 had Kamala won. And this is the grace of God. This is the favor of God. This is because Christians rose up and prayed. And I really do believe it is an answer to prayer. And I am humbled by it. And I also feel like in this season, as a Christian, it is on us as Christians to use this moment, to use this season, to expand the gospel, to be a light, to speak the truth, to use everything that we have been given by our Creator to expand his kingdom for his glory and for his honor. And let us not waste this moment. Let us not waste this time. And that is how I'm feeling. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. So it was Tuesday night, and I got back home and sitting on the couch, and everyone, my kids are all around me. I'm trying to explain the electoral college. They're like, what? Explain the electoral college. It starts to get later, and things are looking good. And I didn't know for sure what was going to happen until they called Pennsylvania. Once they called Pennsylvania, I thought there's really no path for Kamala, but the race had not been called yet. But I'm looking at the numbers. I was like, I have no idea how she could win at this point. But let's be honest, I think we all have this, and I hate the word, but PTSD from 2020, right? We all go to bed, and in the middle of the night, millions and millions of votes showed up for Biden. And he ends up getting, let's see here, like 80 million, 83, 81 million, the most votes that any president in history has ever received beyond Barack Obama. And then we wake up as Americans to find out that Biden had won. And so I had that, like, we can't have that happen again. Like, please. So I'm like, I'm not going to bed. I'm not going to bed until I call it. I'm staying up. If I have to stay up all night, I will stay up all night. I'm going to watch this. I want to see any last minute big dumps of votes coming in. But I do want to show you this, because I got a lot of people saying, well, Kamala conceded, and she did concede. And we'll talk about her concession speech, but she did concede. And they're like, Trump didn't do that. At least we concede. But if you're Trump, he had this. Okay. I want you guys to look at this, and I want you to draw your own conclusions, but I want you to look at the Democrat vote from 2012, 2016, and then what happens in 2020, right? And then we're back to more of a normalcy in 2024. Now, I don't know if you're just your average Joe Schmo and you're like, there's something just by looking at this chart that happened in 2020 that looks, I don't know, out of the normal, out of the ordinary. And Trump had this. Trump sees this. Trump says, I'm not going to concede. And I understand, because when you have that information, you're thinking this is, and I'm hoping that we do a real deep dive into 2020. in this next presidency. I hope we really do a deep dive. I would like to get rid of all voting machines. I would like to get rid of all mail-in ballots. I'd like to return to a paper ballot, day of election. And it's a national holiday. You don't even have to worry about standing in line because you don't have to go to work. That's what I want to see. And hopefully there's some reform that takes place in our election process. But I don't know. You gotta wonder, right? You gotta wonder. So, okay. So Trump, 312 for the Electoral College. Kamala Harris receives 226 votes. You have to have 270 to win. And Trump got it. The popular vote. We have heard this, gosh, was it since the Bushes, that, if you win the popular vote, then you should win the presidency. So there's this been whole movement to remove the Electoral College. And funny here in Colorado, they signed on. Our governor signed on that, hey, if you win the popular vote, then all of our votes, all of our electoral votes will go to the person that wins the popular vote, which is funny. And that goes into effect once all states supposedly sign on. But had that gone into effect, Colorado's votes, every Coloradan, every Democrat in Colorado would have just voted for Trump. So I think that was funny. I was highly entertained by that. We won the popular vote, and every year, every election, they're like, well, we need to get rid of the Electoral College. So that winning that popular vote just completely shut down that speech. I mean, it just wiped it out, because every single time they come out and they're like, we need to get rid of the Electoral College. The reason why we have an Electoral College is so that some big cities don't run the entire nation, right? It balances power for farmers in Iowa, for oil manufacturers in Texas and Pennsylvania that are experiencing a different form of life, that are contributing greatly to the function and thriving of our nation. They have just as much a say as the people living in Los Angeles. It balances power. And it's brilliancy by our founding fathers to have the Electoral College. And I know one big state with a mass population should be able to determine how the rest of determine the person we pick to lead our nation. So it balances, it gives every state a right? It gives every state a say in our elections. So that's awesome. That's awesome. We also won the popular vote, which just shuts down the whole narrative of getting rid of the Electoral College that we usually have to listen to. I mean, it's usually the Dems start that and they go with it for months after elections. Get rid of the Electoral College. So we don't even have to hear it, which is just another blessing. So the House and the Senate right now. We also took the House. Okay. We took every single swing state. And the House, well, we took the Senate. The House stands as of right now. Let me look. It is 212 to 202. So Republicans have 212, Democrats have 202. It's 218 to win. So once we get to that, there's still several states that have not called some elections. I think it's important to note here with all of the Trump, this is a woman we lost, we're not ready for a woman. Women power, and we're going to address all that. And I'm going to have a whole thing on the women's response to this, the meltdown of the left's response to this. But Trump just picked his chief of staff, who is a woman. And as Susie Wiles, she will serve as the chief White House, the chief of staff. She's the first woman ever in the history of our nation to hold this role. Wow, that is extremely powerful. She also helped run Trump's campaign, and she is going to be the first woman to be the chief of staff in the White House, which is pretty amazing. And again, it shuts down the whole Trump hates women narrative, or he doesn't want to be around strong, confident women or intelligent women, as Mark Cuban said. It's everything that they've said to you, the media, has been lies. And hopefully, I'm hoping at some point, people that have not yet woken up begin to wake up. And my hope is that as we go into this new presidency under Trump, that the claims of he's going to be a dictator, he's Hitler, he's going to implement fascism across the country, it's going to be terrible, he's going to build internment camps, it's going to be so bad, that when that doesn't happen, then maybe there's this moment of, oh, maybe I've been lied to. I mean, maybe I have been gaslit for the last 4 to 8 years about who Trump is, and he's not as scary or bad as we have been told. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm sure we're going to have plenty of material going into this. And let's be honest, like we're in a very tender time right now. Tender time as we transition here. Also, Hamas has immediately asked for the end to the war. Like pretty much, they're like, we're done. Trump's back in charge. We don't want to be annihilated. Let's truce. So we'll see how that unfolds. I'll tell you guys, when you get people that are strong in leadership, it really causes the bullies on the world stage to have a pause, to have a moment of maybe we shouldn't do this. Just like Putin, right? I mean, he did not invade Ukraine when Trump was president. He didn't do it. You need strong people to shut down the bullies. And that is who Trump is, whether you like it or not. You need a tough guy, right? You're not going to go into a fight with the weakest person that you can choose from. You're going to choose the fighter. We've got a fighter, and I'm thankful for it. So Kamala Harris, she did concede. She conceded, and she said, I will concede this election. I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign. We have a little clip from her. Let's see what she says.
And loyalty to our conscience and to our God. My allegiance to all three is why I am here to say, while I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign.
Okay, so she concedes. And I'm going to be honest with you. I watched her speech, and I thought that was the best speech that she had given the entire time throughout her campaign. It seemed not as fake. It did seem more genuine. Maybe she was coming from a place of like a defeat. It's more of an authentic, you're feeling things right now. You're not in just like a robotic state. You're no longer kind of being controlled by all the other players on the stage. Your puppet master has now abandoned you, and you can actually just talk. And that's what she did. And I did think that her speech was decent. It was the best speech that she had given, I think, since she started this entire thing. And it sounded to me like she still wanted to fight a little bit. Like, it doesn't concede the fight. What did she say? Let's hold on. I need to
concede the fight that fueled this campaign.
Okay, so when she said, I don't concede the fight that fueled this campaign, I paused there because I thought, like, what did fuel your campaign? Like, I don't know. I still don't know what fueled the campaign. Trans surgeries for illegal immigrants. Like, what was the fuel? What, abortion up till birth across the land, was that the fuel? A third world war, was that the fuel? I'm still trying to figure out like exactly what they were running on. I don't think they knew what they were running on. And that's what happens. You can't convince people if you're not convinced yourself of what exactly you stand for. And I don't think they ever really nailed it as a campaign. And it was always very muddled. Like, it was always very like, Like, do you support fracking or don't you? Like, do you want to stack the Supreme Court or don't you? Like, do you believe in the Second Amendment or don't you? Like, it was just so like hazy. So I don't know what fueled her campaign other than a vile hatred for Donald Trump. So that was the fuel. And I said this before. I said, hate never ends in good. Right? When you and that is why forgiveness is so incredibly essential in your life. And I've learned this is people have done me wrong. People have done you wrong. People have caused anger. They've caused resentment, bitterness, all of that stuff. But when you allow hate to then get inside of you, you open yourself up to deception. And people could tell you anything you wanted if it furthers your hate, if it continues your path in hate, and it affirms your hate. So deception then can mislead anyone if you allow hate in your heart. And hate never ends good, like ever. And so this was a campaign. I've always viewed it as a we hate Trump campaign. We don't really know what we stand for. We're really not going to tell you what we stand for, but we know that we hate Trump. So if you'd like to get on the hate train, join us, because we are full of hate, and hate is not healthy. Hate is terrible for you. Hate corrupts you. It corrupts your heart. It can make you sick. It can actually make you physically ill if you allow hate and bitterness and unforgiveness. And I view that campaign as it's the hate campaign. And so we'll see. She said she's not going to concede the fuel that she ran with on the campaign. And I believe that fuel is hate. So we'll see if Kamala stays on the political stage or not. We'll see if they consider her to run in 2028. I don't think she'll be the pick. I don't think she was a strong pick to begin with. And I think it was just a complete, total mess up to not have a primary. You're the party of democracy, and yet you didn't allow your own party to pick who they wanted to run. You overrided every single voter, and you just basically installed your candidate, and your candidate lost. So hopefully there's a time of reflection right now for the Democrats, and hopefully they really figure out like who their audience is. What do you guys stand for? What do you want to accomplish? And maybe actually get some love of country back into your party platform. But I just don't see that. So here we are. Joe Biden also, he agrees to a peaceful transfer of power. I was entertained. I don't know if you guys saw this earlier this week. Jill Biden showed up to vote in an all red suit, which is just, that's kind of like the Republican Party's color. And the Democrat Party is blue, and it's kind of like always been that way. And they kind of wear their colors when they're going to like, conventions. I know that when I go to my party's like state convention, you see red everywhere. Everyone kind of wears their colors. But she showed up in an all red pantsuit to vote on election day. And I thought that was really, really interesting. And I do believe that there is a lot of contention now between the Harris and Biden camp. They basically did a runaround on Biden, ousted him, installed Kamala, and then lost. So if you're in the Biden camp right now, you're like, dude, you removed him. He could have won, and you took him out. And now look what we have. Look what you've done. So I'm sure there's a lot of angst there. I found it fascinating that she wore the red suit. I know that wasn't just coincidence. Out of all the colors in the world, you pick to wear a red suit to vote on election day. That's interesting to me. Also, I did find it interesting that very often, several times, Biden would go live. He'd go on a Zoom call. He'd go on and talk to the American people during a very significant moment in Kamala's campaign. She'd be giving a speech somewhere, or she'd be doing something, and she needed that press, she needed that attention, and then Biden would go do some kind of Zoom call, some kind of speech that took away from Kamala. So I'm sure oh my goodness, if I could be a fly on the wall right now and see what was going on, I would love to. But here's Biden saying that, he does agree to a peaceful transfer of power.
I spoke with President-elect Trump to congratulate him on his victory, and I assured him that I'd direct my entire administration to work with his team to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition. That's what the American people deserve.
So I'm hoping that happens, right? I don't know. I'm still on edge. I'm still on edge. Trump came out yesterday basically saying that he was going to dismantle a lot of our intelligence agencies, get out and root out a lot of the corruption and malpractice and the players that actually don't want what's best for America. And that's a big thing to do. And so I am just praying. My prayer is that God protects Trump all the way through to inauguration, and that I would just have him hide. I'd have him hide at Mar-a-Lago. Like, there's no reason. Like, you could just talk to us on video. Like, you don't need to go do a speech anywhere. Just hide until we get you through to this inauguration. Although we do have the electors, right? Like, these electors are actually the people that will vote. So, and that all takes place at the very beginning of January. So once that's done, it's done. But I just continue to pray for protection over Trump, and pray for wisdom as he begins to assemble his cabinet. Last time in 2016, after he won, and then when he moved in 2017, I think that there were a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing. I think there were a lot of bad players that surrounded Trump that were part of the swamp, that didn't have America's best interest at heart, that definitely did not like Trump. And they were constantly trying to stab him in the back, even some of the cabinet members. So I know that Trump is much wiser this time. He has a lot of better advisors around him. And my hope is that he has just great wisdom and great knowledge to pick the right people to surround him and to advise him. And that cabinet is just a cabinet that is going to put America first and revive this nation to what it can be and once was. So that's kind of my hope. But I really hope that he does pick some good guys. Everyone's saying that the Attorney General is the biggest and most important pick. I believe that as well. And that's all the lawfare and the person that's kind of overseeing all of our intelligence agencies. You got the FBI, you got it's the DOJ, right? You got the CIA, you've got NSA. Like, they're all kind of overseen by the AG, and we need our AG to be pro-America and America first, and willing to go toe to toe and battle. It's got to be a fighter, so we need a good fighter. All right, now let's get into the fun stuff, the meltdowns. This is what I base a lot of my material off of, is meltdowns and playing the left and the insane emotion that comes from the progressive left, and they just, I don't know, it has to be exhausting to live your entire life on just an emotional roller coaster based on how you feel other than facts. But that is the left. And so obviously, if you've tuned into any social media over the last few days, you have most likely seen meltdown after meltdown. What I had to see is The View. So I didn't watch the initial View, but I pulled some clips, and we've got The View blaming misogyny that Latinos voted for Trump. So here's this. Let's see if I can find it.
Finally, we talk a lot about these different demographics and these assumptions of where they're going to go. Latinos in Texas, a district that's 97% Latino, went 75 percentage points for Donald Trump. Why?
Misogyny.
It's on the border.
It's
the border
misogyny.
crisis is on their doorstep. And they were begging people to care about it for years. We need to take some lessons.
That's what that was.
The lessons are not
Knock, knock. Who's there? Oh my gosh, it's Whoopi.
So do you see that? Like, I want people to see this, because they will continue to lose if this is how they respond. If you immediately respond to not, Latinos, overwhelmingly, Hispanics voted for Trump, okay? We had a huge turn in Blacks begin to vote for Trump. Minorities across the board are starting to vote Republican. And instead of saying, oh, it's misogyny, it's racism, maybe put a pause on it and have some reflection. And like this one woman said, I don't know her name, but she said, it's because they were on the border. Okay. Illegal immigrants do not want mass illegal immigration into the country. They don't. It affects their lives. Just like it affects your life or my life, or it affects every single person here. We're all migrants, right? But we came legally. And when you open up our borders and you allow illegal immigrants to come, it affects every single race, ethnicity, gender. Okay. It has nothing. And everyone has been impacted by this. And instead of saying, you know what, maybe you're right, we should have closed the border. The policies of this current administration has not been so good. We really need to have, a real reflection on this, and maybe make some changes as a party, on some policy changes. That would be good. Instead, it's misogyny. It's racism. And if they continue to do this, they will not win. Okay, you need to know why. And I highly recommend, if you're a troll on here, if you're a Democrat, find out why people supported Trump. Ask somebody that you know that voted for Trump why. And they will tell you. They'll give you a reasonable answer. They'll be able to lay out why. If you ask somebody that voted for Kamala, they'll tell you they hated Trump. Nothing to do with policy at all. And they'll continue to lose if they continue to blame racism, fascism, misogyny. That's why we lost. That's why. No, you lost because you have absolutely terrible America destroying policies. And if you would reflect on your policies and begin to revise them, then maybe you wouldn't have lost. But you guys refuse to do that. You continue to say racism, misogyny, fascism, call people Nazis, Hitler. And if you continue to do that, you'll continue to lose. And Sunny Houston, or whatever her name is, like, she's a perfect example of somebody that's just not going to listen. If you're not going to listen, you won't win, right? Where's the other one? I had another.
If you look at the New York Times this morning, the headline was "America Makes a Perilous Choice." I think that in 2016, we didn't know what we would get from a Trump administration, but we know now. And we know now that he will have almost unfettered power. And so I worry not about myself, actually. I don't worry about my station in life. I worry about the working class. I worry about my mother, a retired teacher. I worry about our elderly and their Social Security and their Medicare. I worry about my children's future, especially my daughter, who now has less rights than I have.
Okay, so that's not true. Her daughter does not have less rights than she has. It's just hysteric. And just so Sunny knows, we are the party of the working class. It's the Republican Party. You guys no longer have that. You are the party of big corporations, big pharma, and that's about it. Like, that's what your party is. You do not stand for the middle class America working class. Like, you just don't. You've lost that. That went away once Trump won in 2016. Okay, that's not your party anymore. And I don't think, I mean, if you're the Democrat right now and you think you're the party of the working class, you are not. You've been lied to. Wake up. Stop listening to the mainstream media. You're the party of big corporations and big pharma. That's what you are. So And it's and you can tell it's all emotion for her, and and Social Security. Trump's not going to mess with your Social Security. It's all lies. It's been lies and lies and lies and fear and fear and fear and fear and fear, and it didn't work. And America rejected it on Tuesday night, and I'm so thankful for it. So what else do we have here? MSNBC. Let's see here. They are blaming Musk.
This is a big, huge part of the story that it's hard to even digest fully at this moment. But you have Elon Musk, who owns Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it these days, X, who is a disinformation propagandist and now could potentially have a direct line to the Oval Office.
Okay, so they're freaking out about Elon Musk. Here's another one.
Misinformation become the accepted information. It has washed over us. Elon Musk, he buys Twitter, and then he uses it almost exclusively to be a propaganda machine, and we've accepted it. We've accepted a narrative that despite an actually great economic recovery, the vibes don't feel good. So we want to reject it and get something else. And the person we are now betting on to change all of it is Donald Trump, a man who did two almost impossible things. He won the American presidency twice, and he drove a casino into the ground.
Okay, so they're losing it now. They're very upset with Elon Musk. And Elon Musk, okay, all he is free speech. That's it. So they are screaming and shouting and kicking their legs and throwing their tantrums because of free speech. Just think about that for a minute. You can't be an American-loving patriot and hate free speech or be against free speech. Free speech allows every single individual to speak freely without government ramifications or government coming in and doing something to you or harming you or locking you up or taking away your job because you said something that they don't like. And Elon Musk allows people to speak freely on his platform. And they're upset. They're upset at free speech. Now, what free speech also does is it allows people to fact check, to call you out on if you're lying on there. There's a thing called community notes, where if I was on there and I just started making up all sorts of and making all these claims, there is an ability to then have people come alongside and fact check me and be like, no, this has been community noted. This is not true. Rachel's incorrect. She's totally lying. And here are the facts. Okay. That's what free speech allows. Free speech allows people to make insane, stupid claims and then be fact checked, including our mainstream media. And that's what they can't stand. They cannot stand it that, some mainstream conglomerate like NBC or ABC or CBS, they make some claim, some misinformation claim, and then they're fact checked on Twitter by community notes and proven that they're the ones that are propagating misinformation, that they're the ones that are pushing misinformation. They can't stand it. They cannot stand it. They do not want anyone to call them out on their own misinformation because they loved it. Back in the day, people would sit down at their TV at night, right? And they'd watch 60 Minutes or they'd watch their nightly news. And whatever the nightly news said, well, that's the truth. That's the truth, and that's what it is. And they could be lying. They could be totally being lied to. And now we have the ability to really find out, hey, who's lying, who's not lying. I need this fact checked, seeing it fact checked, and then drawing your own conclusion. They hate it. They hate free speech. And yes, with free speech comes people that will offend you, with speech that will offend you. You'll hear things that are vile, that are horrible. And you know what? You don't have to listen to it. You have the freedom to say, just to keep scrolling. You have the freedom to say, I cannot stand that person and I don't want to follow them anymore. Unfollow. You have the freedom to read it or not read it. That's called freedom, and it's freedom of speech. And every single person that loves this country should back free speech every single day, all the time, day in, day out. And they're throwing a fit because we have a platform that allows us to speak freely, and they can't stand it. So that alone should tell you something. What else? Oh, total meltdown of Jimmy Kimmel. Let's watch him.
Be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO, for the truth and democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too.
Okay, so he's crying and he's losing his mind because people voted for Trump. Okay, and it's bad for the middle class. It's bad for the poor. It's bad for those that want to keep their Social Security. First of all, he's not touching your Social Security. I don't know how many times I'm going to have to say it on this stream. They just lie. It's bad for the people of Ukraine. What? Because half of, like, so many of the men in Ukraine are dead. Like that, this has been bad. This administration has been bad for Ukraine. Okay? This administration has caused devastation to Ukraine. This administration, and bad for the middle class. Hey, middle class right here. And it has been bad under this administration. And this is Hollywood. They have no idea. They have no idea how the middle class has dealt with the last 4 years. How inflation has literally rocked every single middle class family. That going to the grocery store has been a terrible, horrible experience. Filling your gas tank has been terrible. It's been bad. They don't know. They have no idea. Jimmy Kimmel could not tell you what a gallon of gas costs right now. He has no clue. And you know what this has done? This has proven to me that Hollywood is absolutely irrelevant. At this point, nobody cares what Hollywood has to say. We had so many celebrities coming out, oh my gosh, it's the end of democracy if you vote for Trump, losing their minds. You got to vote for Kamala and do it. Nobody listened. Nobody cares what Hollywood has to say anymore. And that alone, that deserves an applause. I mean, my goodness, how long has Hollywood weighed in on this stuff? And the American people are like, just shut your face. You don't know what we have endured. We don't want to hear from you. We don't care who you want us to vote for. We're voting for our families. We're voting for our freedom. We're voting for America. And that's what we did on Tuesday night. So, yes, they're irrelevant. That's a success story in itself, right? Hollywood becomes irrelevant in 2024. Like, absolutely irrelevant. Like, it's like, we don't care. Sorry. Like, doesn't matter. A lot of those people are at the Diddy parties and Epstein list and all that stuff too. I hope that gets released as well. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting next few years. What else do we have? Okay, and we're coming up on the close here, but I do have a couple more things I have to talk to you about. The leftist women of America absolutely melting down. They're now shaving their heads in protest of the patriarchy. I've seen several videos of women shaving their heads now. This shows you the stability of the leftist woman. It really does. In wake of Donald Trump's victory, American women are joining the 4B movement and abstaining from romantic relationships with men. This originated in South Korea. The movement is gaining traction in reaction to the male majority that voted for Trump. And this could have strong socio-political ramifications. Okay, so let's just break this down. women are not going to be sleeping around, casually having sex and not getting pregnant. And we're supposed to be upset about this because that's what they do. They casually sleep with whoever and whomever. They get pregnant, they abort their babies, and they move on. And they're not going to be doing that. That's a win too. Like, yes, they're taking on conservative values now. You're not sleeping with everybody and you're not going to get pregnant and you're not going to abort your baby. So that's a win for us as well. Keep it up, women. Keep it up, leftist women. I fully support the 4B movement. It's the 4B movement and I'm all for it. I think it's fantastic. I think they need to keep this up. I would encourage them to just go with it. Like, do it your whole life. Do it your entire life. Just be like, you're so mad at the patriarchy for voting for America that you're done. You're just done. And I think that they should keep it up. I don't know about you guys, but I'm in full support. I'm in full support of this movement. Yes. So let me show you this because okay. So I, of course, like all of you guys probably have been on social media more than normal, just looking at responses and seeing the meltdown, absolute meltdown of the women in America, the leftist women, because they thought that they were going to take it. And this was their attitude. Just so you guys know, like, this is how they felt it was going to go down. Let me see if I can find this. I shared this on my Facebook, but I want to share this woman. This was kind of the overall attitude of your leftist woman. This is how they were going into the election. This was their mindset.
Okay, so we're closing in on almost 5 p.m. Eastern time, and I've been tracking everything that's been going on across the country today. And my most important encounter was when I went out to get my champagne. I was talking to the guy in the store, of course, asking him, did he vote? And he said he did early voting, and he asked me if I early voted. And he asked me, why I was getting the champagne. And I said, because I'm going to be toasting Madam President tonight. And he just looked at me with kind of like a smirk on his face. And I said, she's going to win this, right? And he says, oh, well, it's very, very close. And I said, no, it's not. He says, well, what do you mean? I said, no, it's not. The women of America are making their voices heard. Reproductive rights is what it all comes down to. And the women are voting in numbers relative to men that are unbelievable. She's won this. And I said to him, she's going to take every one of the swing states plus Iowa. And he said, oh, but the numbers are so close. I said, I'm a political analyst. I'm telling you right now, the numbers are there. She's taking this election. And then I said to him, you realize, and he didn't tell me who he voted for, but of course I knew. And I said, you do realize you wasted your vote, right? And I didn't care. And I walked out with my bottle of champagne and happily walked home.
Okay, so this is how they went in to Tuesday night. Like, they're like, we're winning this. The women that want to abort their babies have risen up across this nation, and we're going to keep killing the unborn, and Kamala's going to win in a landslide. And they have been devastated. They have been devastated. Like I said, they're now abstaining from having casual sex. They're shaving their heads. And I felt compelled to make this.
Just watch this.
How did we get here? But this could break me and my parents apart.
And I saw a woman walking her 2 kids, and she had this look on her face. And I looked at her, we made eye contact, and we both kind of nodded. Like we were both just devastated. All I can say is, how fucking dare you?
Now that we're all saying what we're thinking, I'm going to go ahead and say that I think if you voted for Donald Trump, you're ugly. I think you're all freaking ugly, and I think you're dumb as bricks. And I think you're a bigot in every sense of the word, every use of the word. I also not only won't care when all the bad stuff that's gonna happen happens to you, I actually want it to happen to you. I want your taxes to go up. I want things to be more expensive for you. I want you to have a complicated pregnancy. I want...
Okay, so what I'm hearing is there's a blue bracelet that we need to wear, because I want to make sure that nobody ever thinks that I am one of the apparently majority of white women who voted for Donald Trump. I do.
And I'm talking to you too, those of you ladies who have the internalized misogyny required to do what you did. Minorities who are so scared of a woman in power that you'd rather cozy up to the white man just in case some crumbs fall off his plate.
So after watching numerous of these leftist women posting their meltdowns on social media, my initial reaction was to mock it, to ridicule it, to parody it, because that's what I do. But then after thinking about it for a hot minute, I started to feel sorry for them. Even the woman that's wishing us to have complicated pregnancies. Why would I feel sorry for them? Great question. Because they've been indoctrinated. They have been programmed by their colleges and universities and mainstream media to believe that Trump really is Hitler and he's going to force them to have a baby. Now, this is a completely irrational fear, but they believe it because they've been programmed. So if any of these women happen to stumble upon this video, which is highly unlikely, but hey, I'm giving it a shot, I want to let you know that you can sadly still take the life of your unborn child pretty much anywhere in this country. And I would highly advise you not to. And side note, I have never met a woman that has ever regretted having their baby. And as far as rights go, you still have every single right that men have in this country. And this might take you a while, but Trump is not Hitler. He was hired for very specific reasons: to fix our economy, to secure our southern border, to stop the funding of senseless wars, and to get rid of government waste. Which one of those is so terrifying to you? Just take a deep breath. Honestly, just take a deep breath and go touch some grass.
Honestly, go touch some grass, for real. And it's still continuing. I got on this morning and it's just more and more drama, more and more just irrational hysteria. And it's because of the indoctrination, honestly, because you guys know me, like I play these people and I enjoy playing them and I would love to just ridicule them. But when I really thought about it, I thought these people really do believe that Hitler was just elected president. Then I thought to myself, what would I do if I really thought like we just elected Hitler? Like, what would I do? I really in my mind thought that. And I thought this is the severity of what mainstream media, propaganda, our universities have done to our youth. Primarily leftist women. For some reason, I feel like men are able to decipher more on this stuff, but women eat it up. They eat what they're told, and a lot of them don't question it, especially the leftist women. I'm naturally a skeptic, so when you tell me something, I'm like, I'm going to look into that. I don't know about that. I don't just immediately receive everything you tell me, and I feel like the leftist women, if they're told Trump is Hitler, then they're like, Trump is Hitler. Like they just buy it instead of being like, wait a minute, like what? Did he kill millions of Jews? Like why is he Hitler? Like, let's look into this. They don't do that. They're just immediately, whatever you say, I'm going to believe you. And this is what's happened. And I saw this, and by the way, I'm a white woman, college graduate, okay, because I've had a lot of these, it's the white woman's fault, and it's the uneducated white woman. Well, I've got a college degree, and for instance, when I was in college, I began to see a lot of this stuff, and just so you guys know, liberal arts had to do a lot of liberal arts classes, theater. That's my background. So I was surrounded by the artsy folks. I know these people. Like, I was surrounded by them. It's the, the arts, the universe. Yes, that was my world for a long time. And I remember sitting in one of my college courses. It was a women's studies class. I know, so painful. But the college professor there talking to us, far leftist, right? This is a woman that hated men. And every single day she got up there and condemned the patriarchy. And I would tell you, me and probably one other person in the class were the only people that are like, what? Like, this is no. Like, all the other women in there ate it up. Yes, the patriarchy is terrible. Down with the patriarchy. They ate it up. And now we have these women all across our country that have been completely just programmed to just think like this. And we're seeing the results of it. The meltdown, the absolute meltdown. And I want to point this out to all these women that are like, oh, it's misogyny and they didn't want a woman president. Oh, it's a racism. You didn't want a black woman president. Okay, we have already had a black president, Obama. So you can check that one off. Well, then it's misogyny. We don't want a woman president. You guys can't even define what a woman is. When you can tell me what a woman is and you can start to stand up for women, then I might listen to you. But you leftist women have allowed men into our locker rooms. You've allowed men to compete with us in our sports. You've allowed men and cheered for an open border that have allowed men to come in and harm our women. Don't even come at me at protecting women or being a voice for women. You can shut your mouths. You cannot define what a woman is, so you have no say in this whatsoever. And I'm so done with it. I'm done with it. It just bothers me so much because you are not pro-women. You have ruined women. Sorry, it's the women issue that really fires me up because this directly impacts my children. Okay, I have 2 daughters. This impacts my daughters. They're both athletes. They love sports, and I'm done. Men in our sports, in our locker rooms, in our bathrooms, in our changing rooms, in our restrooms, coming at us like it's our fault that we voted for a man that wants to protect us. Stop it. I'm just done with it. I'm sorry. And that's it. I'm out. I'm not even putting up with that. You come at me and start saying I'm a misogynist. Let's go. Just done. Done. What else did I say? Okay, I wrote down and I tweeted this out. Sorry, I tweeted out. It's not racism. It's not misogyny. It's not xenophobia. It's not fascism. It's the American people being done with the last 4 years. From COVID mandates to the insane cost of living, to the instabilities of foreign wars, to a wide open southern border, to having men competing against women in women's sports, to mutilating children, to being relentlessly called names. The American people had enough. And that's what happened on Tuesday, if you guys are looking for answers. Oh, geez, seriously. Whatever. So that's it. That's my wrap. And we'll see how this unfolds, guys. That's pretty much what happened this week, right? I mean, that's how it went down. And I'm so thankful for it. I continue to thank God for it. It's weird. I did read this morning before I started getting ready for the stream. But I just want to read this to you. It's very short. But it's Proverbs, and it's the Proverbs for the day. And if you don't read the Bible and you're not even a biblical person, I do recommend reading Proverbs. You don't even have to be into the Christian thing or whatever, although I highly recommend it because it's the truth. But it does give you kind of like a a sense of direction, right? And when I started reading the Bible, when I was really little, my dad said, just start reading a proverb for the day, just the proverb for the day, because there's 31 proverbs and you can read the proverb for the day. And I was kind of rushed this morning, so I was like, I'm just going to read the proverb for the day. And I read in Proverbs 8, this: the fear of the Lord is to hate evil, pride and arrogancy, and the evil way, and the forward mouth and the forward mouth I hate. And I thought that was interesting, because it's like, we're always talking, oh, don't hate. But here, like, the Bible is talking about the fear of the Lord is to hate evil, pride, and arrogancy. So they're calling us to actually hate evil, pride, and arrogancy, and the evil way. And then it goes on, and I thought this was great. And it says, by me, wisdom, kings reign and princes decree justice. By me, princes rule and nobles, even all the judges of the earth. And it talks of, like, talking about how by wisdom, God, he appoints the princes, he appoints the rulers. But right before that, it's there's this advisement from wisdom, because it's wisdom talking in this chapter here, that we're supposed to hate evil, that we're supposed to hate pride, and we're supposed to hate arrogancy. And then after that, it brings forth, like, then by wisdom, the wisdom appoints the kings to reign, and princes to decree justice. And I think that's what happened. I do believe that's what happened on Tuesday night. I think that the American people have witnessed the evil that has just ransacked our nation over the last 4 years, and they rose up and they said no more. And because of that, we then have a change. We have a new prince, a new king, not king because we're a constitutional republic, but a new person of leadership now being positioned in power. And so that was just so cool. I thought that was awesome, and I want to share with you guys. Look at your questions. All right. For some reason on this stream right now, it just says, like, it doesn't say, like, specifically your names. It just says Facebook user unless you're on YouTube. So I don't know why. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, guys. He won. Yeah, Trump is our president-elect. He won by a landslide. The election was just as fair as 2020. It's over. Learn to cope. Yes, true. Glorious morning to you all. All right, back at you. All right, you guys. That's a wrap for me. That's the recap of the week. Pretty simple. And no, he is not as a Messiah. That's right. No. I'm not going there with that stuff. We already have a Messiah. His name is Jesus. He's coming back, and don't look for anybody else claiming to be the Messiah. Okay, and they're a liar. They're they're deceiving you. Hey, Deb. God bless you. Oh, that's sweet. Yes, God bless you guys. God bless the USA. Keep praying. Don't let up, and really, let's take advantage of this moment. Let's not take it for granted. Let's be humble in it. Let's be thankful for it, and use it to speak the truth and to spread the truth. So, all right, you guys, shout out to my Patreon supporters. I'm so thankful for you all. You've kept me going. These people have really, especially over this period I have been in of high censorship under this current administration. And I have had wonderful people come alongside me and just support me monthly. And it has been such a blessing. So a shout out to you guys. I'm so thankful for you. I would not still be doing this if I did not have my Patreon supporters and people supporting me on Facebook. I couldn't. And I need to grow it, actually. So if you feel compelled to just give a couple bucks a month, that would really help me out. And I can continue doing this and continue doing the satire, and I hope to grow it. All right, you guys, have a great weekend, and we'll talk soon. Bye, guys.